Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to the Perspective 9. Today we are going to be talking about Docker and its benefits. So if you guys are familiar with virtual machines, the idea of just running one operating system on top of another, Docker does the same thing, but much more simpler. And it makes much less use of the resources. And the benefits that we can see with that is that if you're, let's say, shipping two different applications, one is dependent on PHP 5, the other one is dependent on PHP 8, and you don't want to necessarily go back on PHP 5 and do all of the upgrades, well, you can use Docker to have both of them run on the same server. Or let's say that you want to ship your application on multiple servers. Well, it's going to be much easier with Docker because instead of installing the operating system, installing the exact applications that you might need from C# to Node.js to PHP to Rust to whatever, you can already have all of that baked into a Docker image. And a Docker image pretty much is a very basic Linux operating system without the user interface and without other things like USB I/O and things like that. And it only has the resources that you would need, meaning either C#, PHP, whatever, and the code for your application. So let's go to the desktop and we'll see. If you go directly to docker.com, you're able to download it for different operating systems and different architectures, which is quite interesting. And after downloading it, you will get an application like this. So you have your Docker images, which are just the file itself where it's gonna run your application, and then the application running itself, it's called a container. So let's go and take a look at an example that we might have. So let's say you're running a Angular application. So what do you need for Angular? You need Node.js. So on this machine, we have Node.js installed. And we have just created a very basic application. So new app. And we went in that folder and we built the application. So if we go to the package.json, we can see all of our command, and we can just run npm run start to run our application. And you can see that we have this running on localhost 4200. Hello, test app. And this is just our Angular application. Now let's say that you want to ship this on multiple servers, or you want to just ship it on a server where it has nothing installed, or it has a different version of Node installed that doesn't work with your application. So we're gonna stop this right here. After having Docker installed, all I'm going to do is first we're gonna create a new file called the Docker file. And we're gonna put this, for the purposes of this example, in a folder to not mix with our code. Then here we're gonna look at what we have here. So these are just basic configurations that in most cases you're gonna be able to go online, find it and copy paste it. So here this is a very basic kind of YAML type of file. So all we are doing is we are saying from Node version 18 as the builder, in which folder we are running these, and we are saying we want to copy our test application package.json. So here, so all of the different dependencies that we might have, and we're gonna install them. And then we're gonna build our application in a production model. And then we're gonna copy it from the builder app.dist test server browser. So the way that you would get that information would be, if you go on your Angular application, you have to look at your output path. So it is dist test app. So if you look at our Angular dist test app, and then we are taking all of the files in the browser. And we are putting it in a Nginx server. And then from there, we are just exposing the port 80. Now that we saved that, the other thing we are going to do is create a Docker Compose file. Here, all we are doing is we are saying that we have our Angular application, the port that we are exposing, and the name of our container. Now in here, we're gonna just go and we're gonna make sure that we go up a folder where our Docker files are, and we're gonna do Docker Compose up, which means it will run the server. -d means it's gonna detach it from the command line, so we can close the command line and it would still run in the background. And then the build, it says that it would build our Docker file. So when we run this, we see that it starts downloading stuff. Now, how did I know what to put in here? So if you go back to our browser, other than Docker itself, there is another section called Docker Hub. And over here is kind of like an app store, but for different applications. So you can see you have PyTorch here, and if you go to the tags itself, it shows you the name for it. So Docker, if you just want to pull the application, it would be Docker pull and the name. And for different applications, you can specify the version as well. So if you go to Node, here, you in the tag section, you can specify the exact version of the application that you want to run. So going back here, we see that everything went pretty well. So going to our Docker desktop application itself, we can see that in the images, we have one more image called Demo Angular app that we can run directly through here. Or if you look at the containers itself, it's a running container. We see that the port 80 is exposed. And if you open that, we see that our application is running. So just to show you guys that this is actually running from here, we're gonna stop this. And if we refresh the page, as you see, it is not loading. So now I'm gonna take the same example, and instead of Node, we're gonna look at Microsoft's .NET. So here, if you look at the tag, it says Docker pull Microsoft.NET SDK, and then you can specify the exact versions that are currently available. So this one was for our Angular app. So if we go to our C# application, of course, first we need our Docker file, and one thing that we need to make sure is, and the capitalization is proper. So here we say the same thing again, from Microsoft.NET SDK as build, and then we specify our work directory, and then here you specify your CS_proj file. Then with the .NET restore, we restore our application, we copy the data, and we say .NET publish and our application as a release application with the directory. So this is the build part. So we are getting the .NET, we are copying our data, and to run it, we are using the ASP.NET runtime. We specify our working directory, and we are copying the data from the build file to the app publish, and we are exposing the port 80. Now, how would you know what else you can use in here in terms of these commands? And by the way, just quickly going over the Docker Compose file, it's going to be the same thing. We are just specifying our application, how to build it, and the Docker file and the port. So there's other things that you can do, like expose your GPUs or do more networking instead of just the port. There's more options. Is that you can go in the docs.docker.com, and here you pretty much have all of the other tools that you would need. So the rest of this I'll leave to you guys to go on and take a look. But here you can see that, for example, if you're running a service, a website, and you're exposing the port and you need a database, you can connect it through a database file port and expose that to a different port as well. Or if you look at, for example, enabling GPU support, here you use resources and you say the name of your NVIDIA driver, and you can see that it would run using the NVIDIA SMI. Now, we looked at the graphical user interface, but looking at, sorry, where it is here, this is just kind of simpler kind of application to use. It's very visual, and you only get some options in order to pause, restart, view details, and when you look at your container itself, you can actually open the terminal here or view files. So here you can see that our application would be, I think in Nginx should be somewhere here. And this is our application running there. Or if you need to run any commands, if something broke, you can just open up the terminal. But just so you guys know, the terminal here is going to be very basic. A lot of tools are not going to be pre-installed. And the other cool thing that I want to show you is right now, in terms of the memory usage, 24 megabytes to run a whole Linux system and have Node installed, Nginx installed, and them running at the same time as well, which is pretty great. But other than that, you can actually use the command line. And for the command line, I would say it's a little bit confusing. The best thing to do is either use the helpline to look at what are the commands available, or just look at them online. And for everyone, I would highly recommend to make yourself like a note of the most commands that you're gonna use. So Docker PS, it shows you pretty much, it's kind of a task manager of showing your application when it was created and what ports are exposed or what volumes are exposed. Then you have just the system df. So if you run that, it tells you how many images you have and what sizes they take. If you want to look at the list of all of your images, you can do docker image ls, and here is all of the images. Now, if you have a lot of images and a lot of containers and you want to get rid of the ones that are not getting used, you can use docker rmi, so remove, and then I is for the image. So any of the images that are not connected to any containers are going to be removed automatically. And if you want to look at your containers and remove them instead, you can do docker container prune, and it's going to remove any of them that are not running. So be careful with this, because if your application is stopped and you don't know about it, it could accidentally delete it. Now, there's two more commands which are docker pull and push. It's kind of like, how would I say, like git. So here you can see I have the option to push to Docker Hub if I'm signed in, or be able to pull any application. What we are talking about is the Docker Hub in here. So this is just one app store, but every big company like NVIDIA, Microsoft, things like that, they have their own version of a Docker Hub where it's just a store. It's kind of running your own Git server pretty much. So you can host and publish your applications, and you can even put them behind the authenticator page. So you need to sign in before you're able to access them. The last one I want to go over would be the networking part. So Docker Network LS, which gives you all of the networkings that you have. So if you want to create a new one, it would be just Docker Network create. And then after creating, well, of course, you need to connect to it. So using Docker Network Connect, you need to put the network name, which here it would be these. And then after, you have to put your, let's say we are using the bridge, your container ID. So going and looking at our container IDs here, we would just copy paste this thing. So that's pretty much it for today. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comment below, and I'll try to get to them as soon as possible.